Hi, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and welcome to my March TBR video. I'm really excited. I'm always excited about these videos, honestly, because I love playing my TBR game. It's way too much fun. And I started this TBR game back in January, so if you have not had a chance to see it or hear my rules, go ahead and check out that video. I will link it in the cards and down in the description box below. What did I read in February? These were the books that I had rolled on, including one other, which was The House in the Cerulean Sea. It was an audiobook. And I'll just let you know really quickly what the prompts were and how I did. The first one was YA fantasy, My Choice, and I read The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. I did finish this. The second one was a middle grade book with the word amethyst in the title, and I read Sword of Sorcery. This is a comic bind up, Volume 1 Amethyst, and I did finish this one. I wouldn't necessarily call it a middle grade, but I would say that it's middle grade friendly, and so that's why I kind of decided to use this one. Then the next one was another middle grade, and it was a book set in San Jose, or the Greater Bay Area, which is like the San Francisco area in California, and I chose Smile by Raina Telgemeier, and I did finish this one. This is set in San Francisco. And then the next one was buy an audiobook with diversity rep of North America, not US, and it had to have 24 letters in the title. And that's because my birthday's on the 24th of February. So that one was a little more difficult. So I actually ended up changing the diversity rep for that. I went for LGBTQ plus IA rep, and I chose The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which does have 24 letters in the title, and I bought the audiobook. So I did finish that. Finally, my last spin was nonfiction, and it was an author born in February. And it just so happens that Trevor Noah, one of my Hollywood crushes, was born on February 20th. I'm about this far in. I'm not quite halfway, but I will definitely have this done by the end of February. So I'm doing pretty good as far as my spins go. As far as the rest of my February TBR is concerned, I actually did pretty good this month. I'm not done. It's only the 21st today, so I still have time. Thank goodness, because I'm working on 6 different books right now. That's a lot. I usually maybe read 2 or 3 books at once, but right now I'm reading 6. And I'll tell you really quickly what those are. One is Of Mice and Men. Nathaniel and I finally talked about chapter 3 last night. This book is never gonna get finished. We're supposed to read chapter 4 and talk about that tonight, but I don't trust this kid. I'm also currently reading Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. Not very far into that one yet, but that's my buddy read with Shell. I'm currently reading 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and this one is ongoing because I'm buddy reading it with Liz, and we're about that far through. I'm also reading Jane Austen, The Secret Radical by Helena Kelly. I don't think I actually mentioned this on my TBR last month because it was something I sort of added on. So yes, I added on another book, and this is a nonfiction book about Jane Austen that discusses how her 6 novels could be roadmaps to what her life was like. So I'm working on that. I haven't made any progress in the last week or so, but I'm enjoying this. As I said, I'm also reading Born a Crime, and I'm listening to an audiobook that is part of my secret TBR. So I won't tell you about that one, but it's going really well. I also haven't made any progress on The Witching Hour by Anne Rice, which is no surprise because I just think I'm gonna be reading that book for the rest of my life. So books that I will need to carry over into March that I'm not going to get finished off my TBR are one of my secret TBR books. It's a doozy, it's a big one. So I'm gonna at least try and start that this month. And I still haven't read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen for the Down Memory Jane read-along. You know, part of the problem is I'm trying to get through all my library books first, so that one just keeps getting put on the back burner because I own it. So I'm like, I'll get to it. I will have to read that one in March. And then finally, I've got Erebus by Michael Palin. This is the book for my real life nonfiction book club, and I have to read this before March 4th. So this will happen. And it's a very quick read. My mom's been reading it and she's getting through it really quickly. And it also has pictures and stuff in it, so this should be pretty fast. So that takes care of February TBR. That's where I'm at. And if you want to know more about all the books that I ended up reading in February, I will be coming out with a February wrap-up at some point. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay, so before we get into the spins, I'm gonna quickly put up a scoreboard that shows you how many spins I've done and which numbers I've landed on. As you can see, if I land on a 1, I will have to add a book to my TBR. So, fingers crossed. Okay, roll number 1. 4, okay. That means that I'm still stuck at stop. So I will be reading an adult horror thriller mystery, which is a book that I own, okay? All right, book number 1. We're stuck on stop so far. And this is a book I own, adult horror thriller or mystery. So I'm actually gonna cheat a little bit on this one. I wouldn't call it cheating. But I'm gonna be reading an ARC, which is an advanced reader copy of The Vines by Shelley Nolden. And I got this from NetGalley, it's an ebook, so I kinda own it. You know, I have a copy of it, so it's sort of owned. And I'd like to thank NetGalley and Frayling Publishing for giving me a chance to read this and give my honest opinion. It's a mystery thriller and also a historical fiction. It's about this island called North Brother Island, and I think it's outside of New York City or something like that. This is an island where they were sending people who were quarantined because of illness and maybe other disorders or things like that. And the doctors were like experimenting on the humans and things. So it sounds like a horrifying place. And the story is about this young explorer who is traveling around, and I think he comes to this island and he sees this woman named Cora, and he's just mesmerized. She's gorgeous. He wants to know more about her, and I think hopefully try and save her so that she's not stuck on this island, befalling the fate of the people that get stuck on this island. I'm not exactly sure. Is this a ghost story? Is this an actual person? I don't know, but I will find out. All right, spin number 2. Let's see if I can get past that stop sign. Oh, that was a 3. So I'm still stuck here. Okay, so 3 is an adult fiction. That's a book I own. All right. This is gonna be a month of books that I own, which is good. I need to get through all my books. So this is the perfect opportunity to. Book number 2 is an adult fiction, a book I own. And for this, I chose The Vanishing Half by Bennett, which I'm really, really excited about. And I'm sorry, it's ugly, but I haven't, just ignore that. I bought this the end of last year and I wanted to get to it right away, and it didn't work out with my TBR. But I'm getting to it now. And this is about 2 twins that are both white passing, and they live completely different lives because one decides to completely integrate herself into the white community and not live a life as a black person at all. And the other one goes the opposite route, and she lives within the same community that they grew up in as a black woman, and she has a different experience. So you see these 2 women that came from the exact same background that live 2 completely different lives. And I think there's some great conversations that's going to be surrounding that. I've heard so many great things about this. This is a well-loved book on BookTube, and I can't wait to get to it. All right, spin number 3. Yes, I get to pass stop. 3 again, okay. So I've only landed on 3 twice, so I'm doing fine with that, but I do get to pass stop. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and it's a book card. Okay, it's a book card for an adult fiction. Oh, that should be pretty easy. Okay, let's see what I'm gonna get. It's gonna be this one right here. Book card. You pick. Oh, okay, fantastic. This is actually really fun. I'm excited about this one. Okay, spin number 3 was an adult fiction you pick. And I've kind of decided that March is gonna be mostly a month of books off my bookshelf because why not? If I can find books that are all on my bookshelf, that's great because I've been reading a lot of library books lately, and that means that I don't get my own books read. And so what's gonna happen with this is that I picked 3 adult fiction books. I think it just so happened that they're all historical fiction also, but they were books on my bookshelf that have been sitting there for a long time that I need to read. And you are gonna choose one of these. The way that I'm gonna let you know about these books is I'm just gonna give you 5 words that I hope will describe it well enough that you decide, okay, that's the one I want Amy to read. And I will also label them A, B, and C, so you'll just let me know in the comment section down below. I voted for A, I vote for B, I vote for C. So book A is A Reliable Wife by Robert Goolrick. I don't know when I bought this book. I've had this book for a very, 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 very long time, and I would like to read it. It didn't get the greatest reviews, but you know, I just need to read it and get out of here. But the 5 words to describe this book are wife wanted, 2 devious plans. So that's that one. So book B is The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society by Mary Ann Shaffer and Annie Barrows. And I watched this movie and I loved it. I do like historical fiction and I love books about book clubs. So I was like, yeah, definitely want to read the actual book. And the 5 words to describe this are Forbidden Book Club Intrigues Writer. And finally, book C is The Orphan's Tale by Pam Jenoff. another historical fiction. And I picked up this one because I know that this is one of her most well-loved books, and I read Pam Jenoff's book, The Lost Girls of Paris, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're at all interested in hearing about that book, I will link my review in the cards and down in the description box below for The Lost Girls of Paris. So, of course, I'd like to read more by Pam Jenoff because I really enjoyed that one. And here are the 5 words for this one. They don't make a sentence. This one's orphan, Nazi, circus, rivalry, friendship. Okay, so those are the 3 books. You get to choose. Please let me know what I'm going to be reading by saying A, B, or C in the comment section down below. And I'm excited to see what you guys pick. All right, now I'm ready for spin number 4. I actually get to move along the board. 9. Least anticipated book on my TBR. That is a YA fantasy. Interesting, okay. All right, spin number 4. This is an interesting one because it's YA fantasy, book that is least anticipated on my TBR. I like this one, actually. This is perfect because it's gonna seem a little strange because I love the first book so much. I really loved Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I listened to the audiobook, which was narrated by Bonnie Turpin. Fantastic, so good. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. And I have yet to read the sequel, Children of Virtue and Vengeance. I even bought the audiobook. I have it sitting, waiting for me, and I still haven't read it. And I think the reason is because I've heard such less than stellar things about this one. You know, people loved the first one so much, and the second one they were like, it's just not as good, and people were pretty disappointed. And so I'm like, ugh, I'm nervous. I don't want to ruin my love of Children of Blood and Bone if this was not as great as the first. But it's not highly anticipated, but I'm going to read it. And so that's Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi. I'm listening to the audiobook, which will be narrated by Bonnie Turpin as well. If you don't know anything about Children of Blood and Bone, it's about this girl named Zaylee and her brother. They kind of kidnap/rescue the princess of Orisha, and they are all working together to restore the magic of the Magi. All right, final spin, spin number 5. 4. We're getting a lot of these 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, my choice, or 1, 2, 3, a book card. You know, since I already did adult horror thriller mystery as book I own, that's kind of already my choice. So I think I'm gonna go for another book card because I think that might be fun. Let's see what I get. 1, 2, 3, 4. Taking all the power out of my own hands. This one feels good right here. Friend pick. Oh, perfect. Okay. Which friend do I want to pick for me? Spin number 5. Okay. I'm going to shoot myself in the foot for this one. I know I am because this is adult horror thriller mystery and it is a friend pick. And I thought to myself, what better friend to pick than my friend Bryson, who is a horror artist. I've known him for 20 plus years and he loves reading. So why not pick someone who loves horror and will give me a great recommendation? And I do have to say that I don't need any enemies because I have friends like Bryson. Friends who think it's super fun to go out and try and find the scariest book they can possibly give me and suggest that one. I'm going to be reading Headhunter by Michael Slade. There is the new one, Headhunter Reimagined, but I actually was able to get a copy of the old one. And this is a series called Special X. I have heard that this book is incredibly gory, incredibly gruesome, very scary, but a great mystery, meaning like I will be at the edge of my seat until the very end. You don't actually find out the mystery until the last sentence or something crazy like that. If I can make it through this book, which is quite questionable based on what I've heard about it and knowing Bryson, what's wrong with me? It's about some detectives on this force called the Mounties Special X. This is set in Canada, in Vancouver actually, which is right across the border from me. So maybe I will feel some sense of nostalgia when I read this horrifying, gritty, and gory, horrible book about serial killers, because there is a serial killer loose in Vancouver who is killing many women and cutting off their heads. He's a headhunter and he leaves the heads posed on pikes around the city or something like that. I just know that this is kind of a dive into this serial killer's mind and trying to understand what's going on so that these detectives can figure it out. I will not be sleeping in March at all, I don't think, if this book is as scary as I've heard it is. So Thank you so much, Bryson. And like I said, Bryson is a horror artist. He's very talented. He's kind of taking a little bit of a break right now, but if you are interested in seeing any of his art, check him out on Instagram at Bryson Ahlstrom. I will put his Instagram handle here, as well as put a link to his Instagram in the description box below. I'm a big fan of Bryson's art, and as a friend, maybe not, maybe we won't survive this, but if you would like to check out his art, please do so. So that's it. That's all my spins. Luckily, I did not land on a 1. Of course, next month when I start school, which I will be because I got accepted into the teaching credentialing program as well as the university I tried to get into, I will probably have a ton of books to read next month. I'm required to take like 17 units, and I also work, and so we'll see. So first, let's talk about my buddy reads. I will be reading Ulysses by James Joyce with Amanda from Bookappletree, and if you haven't had a chance to check out her channel, she's been on a little bit of a break, I've noticed. I really like her content. She has some really fun video ideas. She's the one that tagged me in the book dating tag, which was super fun. So she likes to do a lot of tags. I had told her how this was a frightening book for me. I've tried it a couple of times. I dread it. It's scary. It's stream of consciousness, and I don't understand half the things that are being said in this book. So she's like, let's buddy read it together. And I was like, perfect. Let's do it. We're actually splitting it up among March and April because it's like a 700+ page book. And to go with that, I'm actually gonna be reading by myself James Joyce's Ulysses, A Study by Stuart Gilbert. And I think that James Joyce actually had a hand in this book as well, but this is supposed to kind of help you understand Ulysses a little more. And I had picked this up, I think, when I originally picked up Ulysses, because I was like, oh, well, let's see what people actually think about it that have understood it. And I own it, so it's another one of those cases where if I own the book, I want to read it. So I'm gonna read these ones together. And then with Shell, we're continuing our read along of the Realm of the Elderling series. And so we will be reading Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This one's over 700 pages, so I'm a little nervous that this one might have to carry over into April because it's a big book. And so we'll see how that goes. But I'm enjoying the series so far. I'm not too far into Royal Assassin, but loving it at this point. So I am excited about continuing the series. Oh, and I didn't say, sorry. Ulysses is a stream of consciousness about these like 3 or 4 different people in Dublin in 1904, and kind of like a day in the life of these people. And I can't tell you what this one's about, but I can tell you that the original book, Assassin's Apprentice, is about a young boy named Fitz, who is the bastard child of Prince Chivalry, the king in waiting. He gets sent to the palace to live with his royal family, and they start trading him as a royal assassin. So the next book on my March TBR is the book that I need to read for my nonfiction book club, my real life nonfiction book club. And that is a book that I have been anticipating for a very long time, which is Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. And so this is a book that looks at modern feminism and how it has really left out a large part of the population of women within the US, because modern feminism doesn't really discuss race, class, sexual orientation. There are so many elements to modern feminism that's actually very toxic, and this book discusses that. It tries to help you as a feminist see where you need to change the way you're thinking about feminism, because there are a lot of women who are not being recognized. And this is actually really dangerous, because if we're going to work together for the rights of women, we need to work together for the rights of all women. And it just keeps going. I feel like I've been recording this for like hours and I have more books to add. So next I will be reading Sense and Sensibility, maybe, I don't know. I still need to read Pride and Prejudice, and Sense and Sensibility is the Down Memory Jane book for March. I didn't like Sense and Sensibility when I first read it. I wouldn't reread it if it wasn't for the nonfiction book I'm reading, Jenoff and the Secret Radical. It's given me sort of a different perspective, and I'm curious to read it now, having read some of the things that I've learned from this book. So I'm going to try and read Sense and Sensibility, but Pride and Prejudice comes first. So we'll see how that goes. So then for my March Buzzwordathon challenge, the word of the month is time. Kind of going with the theme that I already have this month and reading books that are on my shelf. So I picked a book that was on my shelf that has the word time in it, and that is Einstein's Cosmos: How Albert Einstein's Vision Transformed Our Understanding of Space and Time. That is part of the long title, so I'm gonna be using this one by Michio Kaku. And I bought this a long time ago because I wanted to read some of Michio Kaku's writing. I have heard so much about it, and I just haven't ever had a chance to read it. I love science nonfiction. I especially love history of science nonfiction. So this is all about Einstein's life, and I'm really excited to get into it and see what I can learn about him and Michio Kaku's writing. And finally, I want to tell you about the readathon I'm hoping to participate in this month. It's the Spring into Reading Readathon, and it's being hosted by Melanie from Completely Melanie, Kaylani from Kaylani Simply Me, and Clint from Reads Readers. And this is happening March 15th through 21st. I wasn't planning on joining a readathon, but it just so happened that all the prompts worked with books I'll be reading this month, so I figured, that'll just give me a week to kind of focus on the books I need to read. So let me go through those prompts with you really quickly. First is spring cleaning. Read a book that has been collecting dust on your shelf. And to be honest, all these books are books from on my shelf, so any of them will work for that month. And I guess I'll kind of wait and see maybe what book you guys pick to determine what book I want to use for that prompt. So that one's still up in the air. Book number 2, Luck of the Irish. Read a book with green on the cover, and that is The Vanishing Half by Brit, Bennett. I'm going to try and read this during that week. Next is Over the Rainbow. Read a classic or retelling. Well, I'll be reading Ulysses over the whole month, so I'm going to continue reading this that week because I'll have, a certain number of pages I need to get through. So this will be my classic that I'm reading for this readathon. Women's March, because March is Women's History Month or something like that. This is read a book with a strong female character. And so for that one, I'm going to pick Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tomi Adeyemi, because that has 2 very strong females, Zaylee and Amari. And so I will listen to that audiobook during this week. And prompt number 5 is Spring Break Bash. Read the group book or a buddy read. So I will be reading buddy reads. I could either use Assassin's Quest or Ulysses for this, and that would fulfill that prompt. They do have a group read. It's a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland, who's also going to be the author that they will have guest starring on one of their live shows. I'm getting this from the library. I put it on hold. It should come to me pretty quickly. I might attempt to read this. It really just depends on how my reading month goes. So if I can, come March 15th through 21st, I will attempt to read the group book. If not, then I will just use one of my buddy reads. So this is about a girl named Esther, and her entire family is cursed. And they're cursed because her grandfather met death. I don't know what happened with death, but he met death. And so every member of the family dies a horrible death based off their biggest fear. And Esther's trying to avoid this curse by not having a biggest fear. She has avoided so many things in her life because she doesn't want to find out what her biggest fear is. If she doesn't know her biggest fear, she can't die. It sounds like an interesting read, and I think it would be fun. I think it's YA. So I would be interested in checking this out. And if that works out, then it works out. If it doesn't, oh well. All the information that you need for the Spring into Reading or Readathon I will put in the description box below. And if you're planning on participating, let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear what kind of books you're using for these prompts, or link me a video of your TBR for this. I'd be curious to see what books you've chosen. So that's it for my March TBR. It's pretty hefty. I've got quite a few large books. For my spins, I'll be reading The Vanishing Half, and then whichever book you choose, A, B, or C. I've got my ARC, The Vines. I've also got my audiobook, Children of Virtue and Vengeance. And then finally The Headhunter, which is in the mail, which is my book from Bryson. Please wish me good thoughts, because I'm afraid that I will not survive this. My brain will never be the same. As I did last month, I will be adding Magda's spins at the very end of this video, so please stay tuned if you'd like to see what I spun for her, and she will let you know in the comment section down below which book she decides to read for these spins. If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe so you can see what other books I read in the future when I spin, and what kind of fun shenanigans we get into with my board game. I've yet to spin the same number 5 times. I'm sure that things will get crazy once I do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye. All right, so now it's time for Magda spin, and it looks like she's not yet in danger of getting another spin unless I land on something. We're starting right here, which is where she ended off last time, and let's go with spin number 1. 1. Book giveaway. Huh. You know, Magda, I think you can make whatever you want to make out of that. Spin number 1 is an Indigenous author and book giveaway, or you can maybe make it a my choice. However you want to do that, Magda. I don't really know. Spin number 2. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. a Goodreads winner, and this is adult horror thriller mystery Goodreads winner. So for this one, I would go into the 2020 Goodreads winners and pick one of the books from the section that has to do with adult horror thriller mystery. I need to clarify. It doesn't need to be from the 2020 Goodreads winners. It can be from any year that we've had the Goodreads Choice Awards, but it needs to be a winner of the category horror mystery thriller. Spin number 3. 2. 1, 2. Respin and move forward. So this one, I'm actually not going to count this color as a spin because it's just sort of like a respin and try again sort of thing. 3. Okay, this one will count. 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is diversity rep for South American representation. So it should be either an author that is South American, a main character that's South American, or set somewhere in South America. And the book has to have an A, a T, and a C in the title. How do I come up with these things? Okay, spin number 4. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 9. My choice. We'll go this way. 8, 9. My choice, and this is YA fantasy. So that's a pretty nice one. All right, final spin. 9. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a YA fantasy that is translated. I wonder how hard that's going to be. That'll be fun to see what you come up with. YA fantasy that's been translated. All right, so those are Magda's 5 spins. Keep an eye on the comment section down below. She will probably let us know what book she chooses pretty quickly. So thank you again for watching. Bye.